I noticed. So Trump seems serious about the tariffs, and Mexico says it'll kill 500,000 U.S. jobs, and they will, of course, retaliate immediately. If we put a tariff on their stuff, they'll put a tariff on our stuff. And Mexico is our #1 trading partner, so there would be a lot of consequences. In addition, the president is the president of Mexico, and she has responded to Trump's claim that he's going to put tariffs on them to punish them for letting migrants and drugs in our country. And she says the people going across the border are way down like 75% over the last year, because Mexico has in fact put in a whole lot of enforcement to limit people trying to travel into America illegally and so on. And says the problem is our people are getting killed to satisfy your drug addicts' demands. Anyway, it's as usual, it's a logical response to Trump's highly illogical, claims, which are as usual based on bigotry. Very surprising. Trump won largely because he got a larger amount of the Hispanic vote. So I didn't see that coming. A lot of Democrats didn't see that coming. Apparently, they don't mind bigotry as much as you might think they would.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how racist places like Reddit have been getting after the election.
Oh, that's what I've heard. And also, I think I've heard this before, that legal immigrants often have no sympathy for illegal immigrants, saying we did it the right way, why should we tolerate the people that did it the wrong way? But I think also they've interviewed people, and Hispanics they interview all say, well, he's only going to deport the bad ones, not me or my friends, which I guess we're going to see. I think he's just going to sweep them up. We'll see. By the way, there was an interesting historical event. I wonder if I can find it. It should be one of my, this very interesting one from NPR talking about the last immigration crackdown, the last big one, which was the Chinese Exclusion Act. In the 1800s, America imported an enormous amount of Chinese workers to build the railroads, and they celebrated them while they were building the railroads. But after they had the Intercontinental Railroad, it did the same thing international trade did now. It made it possible for there to be easy shipment of goods and services. So the factories in the West were greatly harmed economically because the factories in the East had been established longer, and they were more automated, and they made their goods cheaper. And you could just move them across the railroad and put them, so the prices in the West for factory-made goods went down. And so they blamed the Chinese workers for stealing their jobs. And in fact, even though Chinese workers are only 10% of the population, they were 25% of the employment at that time because they would work for cheaper. So there were increasing riots and violence of gangs that would get together and try to drive the Chinese out of their community, ending up in a law called the Chinese Exclusion Act and other acts after it. And they actually did push a lot of the Chinese out, and after that did crash the economy because they were doing a lot of the work. And in the absence of them, there was nobody to do a lot of the work, which is the same thing that's going to happen if we do it again. Anyway, it's interesting to read, see what happened before. We just keep having the same issues come up again and again for the same reason, followed by the same illogical response, followed by the same predictable consequence. Let me check see if anybody's saying anything in the Twitch, actually. Let's go here and here. All right, no comments in the Twitch. So these, I think, are Chinese. I think this was part of the Chinese hacking into T-Mobile's network devices. But the thing they noticed is they detected them because they started executing commands on their routers. And this is something I've been seeing increase over the last year. The entry point to network intrusions used to be software on laptop devices, like Microsoft Word and browsers and PDF files. And now it's typically your edge devices, routers and firewalls and such. And the Zoom has stopped synchronizing. Wow, that's exciting. Let me try. That's funny. I didn't know that was even possible. So let me try stopping the share. Oh, yeah, it stopped sharing somehow. Well, it's still not working. My goodness. Well, no, I might, let's see, it might be working. There, okay, it is working. All right. Anyway, in the classroom, I have to use Zoom because there's no connector. Anyway, so that's interesting, and does show These are now the weak spots on networks, and so far I have not heard of any significant way to secure them yet. Seems to me like you could make a extra secure router or firewall or VPN concentrator and make a lot of money selling it, because the current ones are getting hacked right and left. So the FTC has warned there's now a law that if you sell any kind of smart gadget, you have to announce to the customers how many years you're going to support it, because so many smart gadgets, people buy them, smart vacuum cleaners and everything, then after a couple of years the company just turns off the server and says, well, your gadget will stop working. Bye. And now they say they have to tell you in advance how many years of support they're going to give it.
It's really funny you mentioned this article, because I was talking with a friend who was saying that Spotify used to make this little controller for your phone, and now not only in December have they announced they're going to end product support, but they're going to put out an update that breaks them.
Yep, they do that. They put out an update that breaks them, and I remember, I think it was Walgreens sold copyright protected music for several years, and your music would always have to phone home to the server for permission to run, and they couldn't keep the server up. So they announced in 6 months, we're going to turn off the server, forget it, and we're going to, in the meantime, here's a hacking tool that'll take the DRM off your music. So it's all pretty ridiculous. Anyway,
how a lot of printers, like the Hewlett Packard ones, during the ink shortages, they were forced by the government to tell everyone how to use unlicensed ink.
Oh, well, that would be good, because that's a real rip-off, HP ink cartridges. Yeah, and so yet another data broker left a ton of sensitive files online. There was the big one, National Public Data, a few months ago that leaked out all kinds of information about everybody. This is a smaller group of people. They're PDF files, but they were like background research on people. And often court filings, which are technically legal too, but they say the way it was presented here makes it more useful to attackers. And a rumor has gone around, there is something called connected experience in Microsoft Office. And they therefore sends you, whatever you type in, it sends it up to Microsoft. Now this started, I think, people started getting mad about this around Windows 10. Every URL you go to goes up to Microsoft. People said Microsoft is spying on you, and Microsoft said, well, you could say that, but that's not the point. The point is we have anti-spam filters in the cloud. So when you go to a website, it will check that URL to see if it's malicious against our cloud service, and that's what's going on here. They say, people say they're stealing your Word documents and spreadsheets and everything and training AI with it, but what Microsoft says is they're just having cloud services that do things like offer autocomplete and suggestions and stuff. It is true that your data is going up to Microsoft servers, though, and actually, I think that would be a compliance issue for some of my clients. I work for some critical infrastructure companies that have strict compliance requirements, and they cannot be using cloud services. And healthcare providers can't just use any cloud service. They can only use specific ones that are HIPAA compliant. So this actually might be more of a problem just from a legal risk. Even if Microsoft not doing anything bad with the data, just the fact that the data is going to them might violate some compliance rules. Anyway, so this is Trump. He's now saying, many people voted for Trump in order to bring grocery prices down, and they're going to find they get the opposite of what they expected, because his tariffs and his deportations are going to raise the price on everything. The deportations will raise farm prices, and I didn't know this, there's already a 100% tariff on Chinese cars, because they're so much better than our cars and so much cheaper that they would totally wipe out American car makers if we'd let them in. And so he wants to raise all that even higher, and that will raise the price on everything. And it'll often raise the price a lot more than the tariff percentage, because there are many products used in the supply chain to build something, and many of them are imported.
I've seen a few Chinese import cars. A lot of them aren't too much to write home about.
Okay, I've not seen, people say the automated robot taxis just came out are very good, but I don't know. The head of GM drives one, because he says apparently it's better than his own cars, and he's not afraid of saying so, which is a little surprising.
Well, American car makers have been going downhill for years now.
Oh yeah, I think I had one American car in 1980, and after that I've got nothing but foreign cars. I drive a Toyota because it lasts a lot longer, it's built a lot better. Yeah, beating American cars is not a very high standard.
Most enthusiasts will prefer to buy Japanese.
Yep, the Japanese cars have been the best, although I don't know about EVs. Some of my friends buy EVs. I don't think anybody thinks Teslas are the best. Teslas are the first, but they have a lot of problems, especially the Cybertruck. has a lot of problems. I think, I don't know, people say the Chevy Volt is pretty good, and I think it's actually built in Mexico. But I don't know if it has all of them, they say they're more expensive to maintain than they were supposed to be. They're supposed to save you maintenance cost, but Hertz, I think, set up an EV fleet, and now they're trying to get rid of it because it costs more to maintain than a gasoline-powered
The
fleet.
Volt is a pretty expensive car to maintain, yeah. I know a guy who owns one. It was acting up all out of sorts, and the only way you could fix it was to take it to the dealer to get an update.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, supposedly electric motors are supposed to require less upkeep, but apparently they're not built well enough. Probably because it's new. They probably haven't really perfected the mass production of it yet. And so in the European Union, they have internet regulations. We have essentially none here. And they have social media regulations. And Blue Sky is breaking the rules. It's a relatively minor rule right now because in the EU, they rate platforms by how big they are. And the very large platforms like Amazon have to obey all kinds of strict rules. The smaller ones have less rules, but the thing about Blue Sky is they're supposed to have an information page telling you, they must have a page where it tells you how many users you have and where they are established, and they don't have that because they need that in order to decide if you're a big provider. You're a big provider if you have a certain number of European users. So anyway, it's a minor defect, but they are currently breaking the European rules, so presumably they'll be forced to obey them or punished. People say everyone's running to Blue Sky, running off Twitter now. That seems to be the new popular social media platform. I don't know, I moved to Mastodon long ago, and it's not really social networking, it's really just a news source, but that's probably healthier anyway. Anyway, I'm going to stop the recording of the news.